class mods in Borderlands 3 are a lot more complex than they were in previous games, and with that, it's quite a bit harder to discern the good from the bad. That is until today. Hey Vault Hunters, I'm Constant Canadian, and this is the ultimate Borderlands 3 class mod tier list. If you enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. And if you're looking for more Borderlands content, come join me live on YouTube. I live stream every Saturday to Tuesday from 6 PM EST until whenever I feel like it. I'll see you there. Quick disclaimer here, class mods can change wildly depending on the passive stats they roll with. While an A tier class mod is a good choice, if its passives are complete garbage, then it won't be anywhere near as effective. So just know that we are only ranking the special ability of these class mods, as any class mod can roll with any passive. Starting off with the Antifreeze, dropping from the Arbalist of Discipline. This Seein class mod grants its wearer an extra 40% weapon damage and 20% damage reduction while sliding or airborne. Additionally, this class mod grants Seein an additional 100% move speed when slowed by cryo. While this class mod is cool in theory and is actually pretty fun to mess around with, it's just overall not a great choice. This class mod's boosted skills include Violent Momentum, Violent Speed, and Supersonic Man, all of which are skills heavily featured in a speedy Seein build. This creates a problem though, where the additional 40% weapon damage from jumping or sliding is almost negligible thanks to the absurd amount of weapon damage granted to Seein through Violent Momentum. The speed boost while being slowed is fairly useful, but it really doesn't change the ranking for this class mod. The Antifreeze can be strong if it spawns with lots of points into Violent Momentum, but otherwise, it's going in the D tier. The Bear Trooper is a Muse class mod that drops from Anointed X4 and specializes in Iron Bear utility. This class mod reduces Iron Bear's fuel usage by 50% and increases its maximum fuel capacity by 50% as well. This class mod is probably one of, if not the worst Iron Bear class mod though, as late game, with a full build, fuel consumption really becomes a non-issue for Iron Bear. There are many better ways to increase Iron Bear's efficiency aside from this class mod. Now, the Bear Trooper can roll with points in Stainless Steel Bear, which is good for Iron Bear's damage, but again, there are much better class mods overall for bear damage. The Bear Trooper isn't really bad, but it's just really not that strong overall. It's going in the C tier. The Blastmaster is one of Muse's OG comms and drops from King Nashor on Eden 6. This class mod gives Muse a continuously stacking buff to splash damage, which resets when she reloads. This splash damage buff can stack up to 100% after around 50 seconds. The skills this class mod buffs aren't the greatest for its playstyle, with only redistribution really being synergistic with not reloading, but the Blastmaster is one of Muse's only ways to get additional splash damage aside from Torg cross promotion, and that makes it incredibly helpful for splash builds. It's going in the A tier. The Bloodletter is another Muse classic class mod that drops from the Skag of Survival. This class mod converts all of Muse's healing into shield regeneration, which includes any lifesteal, health regen, and any other healing methods, while increasing recharge delay by 150% and reducing recharge rate by 50%. This class mod synergizes fantastically with Deathless URAD builds, as it can roll with bonus points into Desperate Measures and Phalanx Doctrine. The Bloodletter does promote a much different style of play compared to other, more generic comms for Muse, but it is still a very powerful option for a Deathless build, though for other builds it's pretty much worthless, so it's going in the A tier. The Bounty Hunter is the first Flak class mod on this list, and it drops from Lieutenant Preston. This class mod, upon damaging an enemy with gun damage, has a 3% chance to activate all of Flak's unlocked hunt kill skills. Additionally, while this class mod is equipped, all bosses are treated as human, beast, and robot for Flak skills. Another neat thing with this class mod is that if the Bounty Hunter activates the skill Interplanetary Stalker, it activates all 4 kinds of buffs for Interplanetary Stalker, regardless of the enemy's type, although the move speed buff sometimes doesn't work. This class mod is a good, general purpose class mod for all Flak builds. However, due to its general nature, it's just never really the strongest for any specific build, and usually there's something better than it just a simple farm away. Still, it's a good all-around option for Flak and boosts some pretty strong skills like Hunter's Eye and Frenzy, so it's going in the B tier. The Breaker is Amara's only good base game melee class mod, and it drops from the Skag of Survival. The Breaker grants Amara up to 29% damage reduction based on how close to the target she is. And while that doesn't inherently make this class mod good for melee, its skill boost to Find Your Center, one of Amara's strongest melee skills, does make it a great choice for a melee build. This class mod can be used for other purposes though. as it has a chance to buff personal space, one of Amara's best sources of conditional gun damage. The Breaker is a good class mod for a melee build and an okay choice for gun builds, though there are better class mods for both gun damage and melee damage nowadays, so it's going in the C tier. The Commandlet is a very underwhelming class mod that drops from the bunker chest in Arms Race. This class mod gives Flak's pet a 20% chance to automatically attack using its attack command whenever Flak deals damage to an enemy. This effect is kind of pointless in the grand scheme of things, as using an attack command is quite literally one of the simplest things in this game. The skills this class mod boosts are pretty decent if you're running a pet build and will offer a lot more survivability for your pet, which is a bit redundant with even 2 points in Who Rescued Who, but whatever. Unless there's some sort of hidden interaction here that I'm not seeing, then this class mod is pretty much useless, though its skill buffs are okay, so it's going in the D tier. The Cold Warrior is yet another very underwhelming class mod, this time for Seein, that drops from Tremendous Rex. The Cold Warrior applies a random status effect to any enemy that Seein freezes. The damage of these random status effects are abysmal though, and the only useful skill this class mod boosts is Trick of the Light. But even with 3 out of 3 into that skill, Seein is not very synergistic with damage over time effects, and this class mod really doesn't make any sense for his character or playstyle. It's going in the F tier. The Conductor is another Seein class mod, this time dropping from Voltborn in DLC 2. The Conductor grants Seein bonus shock damage up to 50% based on his remaining action skill duration. This effect stacks twice while having 2 action skills active. This class mod isn't really a bad choice, it's just not an amazing choice. This class mod does also buff Borrowed Time and Good Misfortune, which synergizes very well for the encouraged playstyle. The shock buff on the Conductor is a pretty strong one, but I can't help but feel it should have maybe been 75% per action skill, and then it would have been very strong. This certainly isn't Sein's strongest class mod, but it can still be built around pretty well for some extra shock damage. It's going in the B tier. The Cosmic Stalker is another very general Flak class mod that drops from the Tyrant of Instinct. This class mod simply gives all of Flak's hunt skills a 25% buff to their effectiveness. This includes some of Flak's most impactful skills. This class mod can also roll with Interplanetary Stalker and Hunter's Eye, both of which are great skills, but more importantly, it can also boost Big Game, which synergizes very well with this class mod, as it can give you an additional 100% hunt skill duration and another 30% effectiveness on top of what the class mod already gives you. If you can manage to get a Cosmic Stalker with +3 into Big Game, it'll be very powerful. But even without that, it's still a B tier class mod. The Critical Mass is a Seein class mod that drops from the Seer, and oh boy is it a stinker. This class mod, upon critical kill, will instantly reload your gun. That's all it does. And no, the reload isn't free, it still comes from your ammo reserves. Not only does this class mod do the most pointless thing ever, but it can also boost Deja Vu, a purple tree skill that is essentially the effect of this class mod, but worse. The only worthwhile benefit of this class mod is its potential boosts to the skill Domino Effect. Seein already has so much reload speed in his kit that this class mod is just insanely out of place. It's going in the F tier. The Deadeye is a flat class mod dropped by Vice, one of the mother of Grogan's dragons. This class mod gives both Flak and their pet an additional 35% damage against any target above 75% health. This class mod is one I have a pretty hard time placing, as the 35% damage is V2 damage, however it's not very much V2 damage, and it's only applied to enemies over 75% health. Though it does have a chance to boost the Fast and the Furious as well as Fang and Go for the Eyes, which is nice. Realistically, I can see this thing being used for just a little bit more damage when trying to go for one-shot kills on tanky bosses, but aside from that, its uses are quite limited. It's going in the C tier. Death's Blessings is an Amara class mod that drops from the Seer. This class mod, upon kill with a Remnant Orb, spawns another orb that'll seek out the player and increase their damage by 150%. This is a pretty straightforward and simple, but powerful buff. Amara really lacks gun damage in her trees with only around 80% gun damage maximum, not including personal space as it's calculated separately. This makes the Death's Blessing a really great choice for pretty much any gun damage build, as aside from a select few bosses, there will almost always be an easy target for your Remnant Orb to kill. And with the way that class mod skill boosts work now, you won't even need to be spec'd into Remnant to actually spawn Remnant Orbs as long as your Death's Blessings boosts it. The amount of weapon damage that this class mod gives Amara is pretty insane, and it's also very easy to get that damage. But there are more ways of getting more gun damage from her class mods, so it's going in the A tier. The Dragon is another Amara class mod, this time dropping from the Tink of Cunning. The Dragon class mod activates Amara's action skill augment whenever she kills an enemy with melee damage. Now, when I first saw this class mod, I thought it was upon damaging an enemy with melee, and I thought that that would be pretty damn strong. However, being on melee kills significantly limits this class mod. There is almost no use for the Dragon class mod that is worth using it for. The only real purpose the Dragon has is with Expedite for a faster cooldown on melee builds, but Combo Breaker provides instant cooldown with a 20% chance, so the Dragon just feels very out of place. And that's not even to mention the fact that half of the time the augment just doesn't even activate. It's going in the F tier. The Elementalist is yet another Amara class mod. This one drops from the Sarah of Supremacy. The Elementalist is another Amara class mod that is really just meh. This class mod applies Amara's action skill element to all nearby enemies whenever she phase grasps a target. The damage of these action skill elements though is absolutely abysmal, and the only skill that this class mod boosts that's worth anything is Infusion, but even that's advised against for splash weapons. The final nail in the coffin of this class mod though is that it does not work with the cryo element for whatever reason. This class mod could have been a good alternative to the Frozen Heart or Snowshoe Shield, but because it doesn't work with cryo damage, it's left to just gather dust. It's going in the F tier. The Eternal Flame is an incredibly powerful Mose class mod that drops from the damn WTF chest in Arms Race. This class mod gives Mose a 15% chance to reset her action skill cooldown whenever she ignites an enemy. This is incredibly useful for Mose, as when spec'd properly, pretty much all of her attacks will have a chance to ignite enemies. And this class mod can also boost running on fumes, which is really useful for running between enemies, as well as big guns for extra damage and nitro trinadium engines for even more fuel capacity on Iron Bear or Cub. This is a very good class mod for Iron Bear only builds as it allows for maximum uptime on Iron Bear. It's going in the A tier. The Executor is one of Zane's only good base game class mods, dropping from Bear and Noggin. This class mod upon killing an enemy grants Zane 20% cryo damage and effect chance, 11% elemental effect chance, 86% accuracy and handling, and 75% critical damage for 8 seconds. The buffs from this class mod are absolutely perfect for a speedy Zane as they're in damage stats that aren't gun damage, which is what you want for Zane. The best part about this class mod though is that its kill skill can be activated by Seeing Red and is affected by Death Follows Close and Seeing Red's kill skill effect bonuses, making it even stronger. The Executor is probably the best general purpose Zane class mod, and it's going in the A tier. The Flare class mod is a Mose class mod and is one of the 3 class mods that will affect Iron Bear's damage. This class mod, dropping from Evil Mordecai, increases damage by up to 100% while Iron Bear is active, decreasing as Iron Bear spends fuel. This damage is calculated as V1 damage, which basically means it's multiplicative with most other sources of damage, making it incredibly strong. The Flare can also boost Cloud of Lead and Means of Destruction, which is fine, but the real star of the show is the fact that it can buff Stainless Steel Bear, which gives Iron Bear even more damage through this class mod. Our first S tier class mod. Friendbot is a flak class mod and honestly is one of the game's worst class mods. This class mod drops from the Arbalest of Discipline and grants Flak's pets a 20% damage bonus as well as reviving Flak's pets when Flak gets a kill. The only worthwhile skill this thing buffs is Barbaric Yop, which increases the passive boosts from your pet, but almost any other class mod will give you more damage. This is a pet class mod that boosts pet damage by 20% and grants revives upon killing an enemy, for a pet that is damn near invincible as long as you're not doing literally nothing in the battlefield. Definitely not worth the class mod slot it takes up. It's going in the F tier. The Golden Rule is an Amara class mod that drops from Jackbot in DLC 1. This class mod grants Amara a stacking cooldown buff whenever she takes damage. This works with enemy damage or self damage. This class mod is very clearly meant to complement phase spam builds, where you're just constantly using action skills to keep all sorts of buffs up like Helping Hands and Delayed Bear. And wouldn't you know it, this class mod can boost both of those skills. The Golden Rule synergizes very well with itself, and with the right rolls can be a great choice if used right. However, unlike a lot of other Amara class mods, it really doesn't do much in terms of damage, so it's going in the B tier. The Green Monster is an absolutely insane class mod for Muse, dropped by the Jackbot in DLC 1. This class mod gives Muse bonus corrosive damage up to 100% as she continuously fires, and while that is what the item card says, it's a little bit more particular than that. After firing for a bit, Muse starts stacking this buff regardless of whether or not she keeps firing. This bonus applies to weapons, grenades, and melee attacks, and resets when Muse starts firing again. So this class mod could be used to give Muse's grenades and melee attacks free corrosive damage for literally nothing. Not only that, but this stacking buff also increases splash damage too. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this class mod has a Blastmaster built into it on top of its other effect, making this a 2-for-1 deal, and a very strong one at that. This class mod can boost Click Click, Scorching RPMs, and Iron Bank, so with the right rolls, this class mod can be used pretty much however you want. This is by far one of Muse's strongest class mods, and more than earns itself an S tier spot. Moving on now to another really strong Muse class mod, the Heat Exchanger. This class mod drops from the Seer and increases Ironbear's minigun damage by up to 80% as minigun heat increases. This increase is honestly kind of huge and affects all minigun types, including the augment that does the exact same thing already, essentially doubling its effectiveness, and explosive miniguns, which is a huge increase for them. This class mod is also bugged and can roll with +4 into feature creep, granting 18% extra damage per point, which really takes this thing over the top. The Heat Exchanger is basically your best option for raw minigun damage on Ironbear. It's going in the A tier. The Hustler is another really good Zane class mod, this time dropping from Locomobius. This class mod makes all non-critical hits stack a buff up to 5 times, and gives non-critical hits a 5% chance to consume that buff, dealing 25% increased weapon damage per stack, and counting as a critical hit. This class mod is pretty strong with any fully automatic weapon, though its increase to weapon damage is pretty negligible because of Violent Momentum. However, the Hustler is also responsible for allowing builds like Borsplosion Zane to be possible, which is Zane's most powerful build. The skills it boosts are kind of underwhelming, with the only real good one being Brain Freeze, but its interaction with the Racer and one-shotting potential make it an S tier class mod. The Infiltrator is another Zane comm dropping from Scrack, and it's just okay. This class mod grants Zane up to 20% weapon damage and 15% movement speed based on how low his shield is, as well as draining Zane's shield when he uses an action skill. As is the problem with the Antifreeze, Zane already has so much gun damage that an extra 20% isn't going to do much for him. The 15% movement speed can be pretty helpful though, and this class mod can also roll with Violent Momentum and Supersonic Man. So with the absolute perfect roll, the Infiltrator could be a very strong choice. Honestly, if the class mod were changed to give 20% to all damage rather than gun damage, it would be much higher on the list, though it does pair really well with the Revolter shield, so it's going in the B tier. The Kensei is a very slept on Amara class mod that drops from the Drydock chest in Arms Race. This class mod gives Amara's weapons 10% extra melee damage of her action skill element for 6 seconds after activating an action skill. While this melee damage doesn't activate on melee effects, it does scale with your melee damage, meaning that it gets the 16 times melee mayhem scaling, as well as getting buffed from any melee buffs, whether it be through skills, class mods, or weapon attachments. The Kensei, when built for properly, can be absolutely insane, as it gets scaled off of gun damage, melee damage, and elemental damage. The latter of the two are something that Amara has so much of. This class mod can also buff Unweave the Rainbow, which is one of Amara's best skills, and can also buff Joyful Freedom, which is one of Amara's most powerful melee buffs. The Kensei is Amara's solution to low single target damage, and more than earns itself an S tier spot. Moving on to another really strong class mod, the Minesweeper, a Muse class mod dropping from Archer Row. This class mod is insanely powerful, and quite frankly has no right being as powerful as it is. The Minesweeper on hitting a critical hit has a 25% chance to drop a micro grenade that explodes after 1 second, dealing splash damage. The damage and element of this micro grenade are determined by the critical hit that triggered it. These micro grenades are absolutely busted and get all sorts of weird damage scaling going on, as the grenade basically gets splash, V1, V2, elemental, and grenade damage bonuses after its damage has initially been determined by the critical hit. The Minesweeper works exceptionally well on high fire rate, high pellet count weapons, And to top it all off, it can boost Fire in the Skagden, Mose's most broken skill. This class mod is completely broken and more than earns itself an S tier spot. The Muse is an Amara class mod that can get really strong. This class mod drops from Evil Lilith in DLC 4, and when Amara hits an enemy with melee damage, will spawn an orb that hits a nearby enemy. This effect has a 3-second cooldown, and while the damage of the orb is based off of the melee damage that dealt it, the orb itself is not melee damage. The Muse is counted as projectile damage by the game's code, which has very few things that buff it. And while some people think the Muse not being melee damage hurts it, it actually does the opposite, as the Muse orb will build up groundbreaker damage. Meaning that with the Muse, your melee damage can essentially stack off of itself for some crazy damage. It also makes your melee attacks hit twice, though on separate enemies. When this thing first released, it was glitched and could provide more than one bonus skill point into Illuminated Fist, which made it absolutely insane, though it is still rather strong today. It's going in the A tier. The Nimbus is a very strange Amara class mod that drops from the Sarah of Supremacy. The Nimbus causes the first damage dealt by Amara's action skill to spawn a cloud that deals 16 ticks of damage of Amara's action skill elements. Each tick only deals about 25 damage, which sucks, but each tick also has a chance to put a damage over time effect of Amara's action skill element on the enemy, which inherits its damage from the player's currently wielded weapon, meaning that for the absolute best effect from this class mod, you want a weapon with very high damage over time. This class mod can be pretty decent, but it really isn't anywhere near Amara's strongest option. Though it is the only legendary class mod that can boost the skill Tempest, which is nice. The Nimbus has some pretty niche builds that can get some work out of it, but even with those, it's not a very strong class mod. It's going in the C tier. The Peregrine is a flak class mod that drops from Dr. Benedict in DLC 4. This class mod makes Flak's Rakk attack action skill drop a grenade when the Rakks first damage an enemy. The grenade the Rakks drop is based on your currently equipped grenade mod. What makes this class mod good is the fact that it essentially turns any grenade into a homing grenade, which pairs really well with the Guardian Angel shotgun. This class mod also boosts Interplanetary Stalker, Eager to Impress, and Ambush Predator, only the last of which will really affect the damage of those dropped grenades. This class mod works especially well with certain grenades that have strong damage but limited range or poor throw accuracy, like the Fish Slap. The Peregrine can be pretty strong, though it's certainly not the best. It's going in the B tier. The Phasezerker is Amara's best general use class mod. Dropping from the Hag of Fervor, the Phasezerker grants Amara an additional 5 maximum rush stacks, and upon activating her action skill, gives Amara her maximum rush stacks instantly. Additionally, the Phasezerker grants Amara 3% bonus weapon damage and cooldown rate per rush stack, despite what the card actually says at the time. This class mod is pretty much the Swiss Army knife of Amara builds, as it gives good gun damage and good cooldown rate. It also makes it incredibly easy to stack up to 99 stacks of Do Harm for insane damage with Ties That Bind and Remnant. This class mod is Amara's main class mod, and for a lot of people is what makes Amara, Amara. It's going in the S tier. The Rakk Pack class mod is another flak class mod that is good, but not great. This class mod drops from the Tink of Cunning on Mayhem 4 or higher. With this class mod equipped, when Flak's Rakks hit an enemy, they spawn 2 more Rakks that seek out another target. This class mod is super fun to play around with when using Rakk attack and really gives you the absolute maximum damage out of your Rakks. This class mod can also boost Grim Harvest, which is a big increase to skill damage, benefiting your Rakks even more. If you want to make the absolute best out of your Rakks, then this is quite possibly one of the best class mods to do it with. It's going in the B tier. The Raging Bear is a Mose class mod that drops from Billy the Anointed on Mayhem 4 or higher. This class mod gives Iron Bear decreased fuel usage when killing an enemy, and gives Iron Bear increased damage when it takes damage, up to 50%. The Raging Bear is essentially the halfway point between the Flare class mod and the Bear Trooper, and while it is decently strong, fuel usage in the endgame with Iron Bear becomes way less of an issue. So most of the time, you're better off with Flare just for straight raw damage. This class mod can also boost Stainless Steel Bear, which helps out for damage even more, but so does the Flare class mod. The Raging Bear tried to be the best of both worlds, but in the end it ended up just being worse than both the things it tried to be. It's still a decent option though, so it's going in the B tier. The Rakk Commander is one of the worst class mods in this game. This flak class mod, drops by Azalea, grants flak an extra charge of Rakk attack. That's all it does. It doesn't increase the Rakk's damage, it doesn't change their element. No, it just gives flak one more charge of Rakk attack. Whoever at Gearbox thought it was worth a class mod slot to give Flak one more Rakk attack charge is absolutely insane. The skills that this class mod boosts don't even synergize very well with it at all. Sure, you do get bonus points in Eager to Impress for extra cooldown, but He Bites and Ferocity do nothing for Flak's Rakks. This is an absolute disaster of a class mod and deserves nothing more than an F tier spot. Red Fang is an absolutely fantastic class mod for keeping Flak alive. This class mod, dropping from the Tyrant of Instinct, makes all enemies target Flak's pet while Gamma Burst is active. This one class mod is more than enough to keep Flak alive in even the heaviest of battles. The skills that the Red Fang boosts are pretty underwhelming. Eager to Impress, He Bites, and Ferocity don't synergize too great with this build, but the Pet Taunt and Gamma Burst Anoint for Flak makes this class mod an absolute killer. This class mod is one of my personal favorites on Flak and definitely earns itself an A tier spot at the very least. The Rocketeer class mod is a Mose class mod that drops from Tumorhead. This class mod completely removes the time limit on Mose's auto bear skill, essentially making Iron Bear a turret that you can leave on the battlefield to clean up the hordes of enemies. This class mod is essentially what makes AFK Iron Bear kills possible, and if you want to just sit back and watch Iron Bear smoke everything around without having to do anything, then this is the class mod for you. This class mod also boosts Fire in the Skag Den, which is absolutely huge for any situation. The Rocketeer isn't a great choice if you want to actually control Iron Bear or do anything, and is really only useful for watching Iron Bear do all the work itself, so it's going in the B tier. The Role Reversal is just another poorly thought out Flak class mod that drops from the Seer. This class mod gives Flak a 40% chance to regain one grenade when its pet scores a critical enemy. This class mod is essentially pointless in the grand scheme of things and really only functions as a cut purse launchpad for grenades. Its effect could very easily be achieved by any grenade with the action skill Start, Regenerate 1 Grenade Anoint, and 3 charges of Rakk attack. The Role Reversal class mod just really doesn't have a place in this game, considering that even with a lot of pet crits, it barely gives out the free grenade, at least in my experience. It's going in the F tier. Next up on the list, we have the Sapper. This class mod, dropping from the Empowered Gron, gives Mose 11.5% increased lifesteal for every second she holds down the trigger. Though the item card claims the lifesteal is limited to 12%, that just isn't true. This class mod is incredibly good for keeping Mose alive, and at the time of release, was the only way that she could heal outside of Vampire. However, now that Russian Offensive has been given lifesteal, the Sapper has kind of just lost its place. Still, it's a decent class mod for mindlessly keeping Mose alive if you don't want to use Vampire and don't want to deal with the bugginess of Russian Offensive. The skill boosts on this class mod also pretty much exclusively increase mag size except for Means of Destruction, which regenerates grenades, meaning that this class mod is essentially good for healing and only healing, which Mose really doesn't need anymore. It's going in the C tier. The Seein Dead, dropping from Jackbot in DLC 1, was at one point Zane's best option. This class mod gives Zane a 4% chance when damaging an enemy to activate all of his unlocked kill skills. Additionally, all of Zane's kill skills gain a 10% increased effectiveness. This class mod was the Zane meta when it came out, as there was no way to maintain Zane's kill skills aside from killing an enemy. Once Mantis Cannon came out though, Seein Red was more than adequate for activating kill skills without killing an enemy, and opened up the floodgates for other class mods. The Seein Dead is still fine to this day, but there are better class mods for buffing up your kill skills. It's going in the B tier. The Shockerator is yet another absolutely stupid class mod for Zane that drops from the Hag of Fervor. This class mod grants Zane's clone the Binary System Augment for free. That's it, that's all it does. This class mod is honestly just really stupid and is 100% not even worth the class mod slot it takes up. It's going in the F tier, and if there were a tier lower than F, it'd be going there. The Spiritual Driver is Amara's biggest source of gun damage. This class mod that drops from Celestro on Mayhem 4 or higher causes Amara to apply her action skill element to herself whenever she uses an action skill. Additionally, it also grants Amara increased gun damage the faster she moves. This class mod alone can get Amara around 300% gun damage when at maximum mindfulness stacks, and that isn't even considering the potential interactions with the Elemental Projector or other move speed buffs. The Spiritual Driver is a very strong class mod for Amara, especially considering it can boost mindfulness, giving Amara the extra speed she needs for this build. This class mod is its own playstyle for Amara, and it's a very strong one at that. It's going in the S tier. The Spy class mod is a good class mod for Seein, but a giant pain to farm as it drops from the Madwith power chests in Arms Race. This class mod, upon using the last charge of Mantis Cannon, will activate all of Sein's unlocked kill skills, which is cool, but pointless with Seein Red. What really matters though is that the Spy also increases Sein's kill skill effects by 10% and duration by 8 seconds, making this class mod basically a better version of the Seein Dead. If it weren't already great enough that it boosts kill skills as much as it does, the Spy can also roll bonus points in Our Man Flint, Headman's Hand, and Commitment, all of which are great skills for Seein. This class mod isn't one of the meta class mods for Seein, but it is still a great choice for kill skill bonuses. It's going in the A tier. The Stackbot is a flak class mod that grants them an insane amount of gun damage. The Stackbot is a flak class mod that grants them an insane amount of gun damage if used right. This class mod drops from the Jackbot in DLC 1, and upon scoring a critical hit, gives flak a 5% weapon damage bonus that stacks up to 99 times for 495% extra gun damage. Stacks reset upon traveling, dying, or hitting a non-critical hit. This class mod works amazingly well with fadeaway and high fire rate or high pellet count weapons. With the right weapons like the Monarch or a ×18 Torgue shotgun, the damage of the Stackbot can build up super quickly and will very easily topple over even the hardest bosses. This class mod can also boost Hunter's Eye and the Fast and the Furious, both of which are very powerful skills for flak. The Stackbot is by far the best class mod for crit builds on flak, and nothing else even comes close. It's going in the S tier. The Stone class mod is intended to make Amara super tanky, but it just isn't all that useful. This class mod, dropping from the Fungal Gorger, gives Amara an additional 5 maximum rush stacks and grants Amara a 3% damage reduction per rush stack, as well as giving Amara a 10% chance to gain a rush stack when damaged. This class mod isn't inherently bad, but Amara already has insane survivability, so there really isn't much of a reason to bother using the Stone. What's even weirder though is that this class mod also boosts Do Harm and Violent Tapestry, which are both useless without using your action skill, despite the fact that this class is geared more towards never using your action skill so you can keep the damage reduction buff. The Stone is just overall a really weird class mod. Still, if you want lots of damage reduction and not much else, you can use it. It's going in the C tier. The Techspert is yet another absolute embarrassment of a Seein class mod. This class mod, dropping from Rachel the Anointed, gives Seein a 35% chance on kill to reset Sentinel's duration or cooldown. Because you know how Seein struggles so much with action skill cooldown and duration, right? Seein already has so much cooldown and duration resets in his kit, and it really makes no sense that this class mod would even exist, considering how much it's actually not going to do anything for Seein. What makes this class mod even more embarrassing though, is that it boosts Ready for Action, Rise to the Occasion, and Really Expensive Jacket. 3 skills that have nothing to do with Sentinel or keeping action skills active. Seriously, there is zero reason to use the Techspert class mod. It's going in the F tier. If the Techspert is an absolute embarrassment, then the Trainer class mod is just an outright failure and a disappointment to class mods everywhere. This class mod drops from Chivalrous the Unscathed in DLC 2, and instead of Flak's pet killing an enemy when they kill it, there is now a 25% chance that they will convert to your side and heal to full instead. Now, the enemy does die after 20 seconds regardless of what happens, but the class mod is all sorts of janky. First of all, your pet will still target the enemy that has been converted, and secondly, the enemies in this game do next to no damage to their own 50 million HP health bars. So having an enemy on your side is almost completely pointless to begin with. There's also a bug with this class mod that sometimes the enemy just doesn't even convert to your side but will still heal to full health. The Trainer is by far Borderlands 4's worst class mod, as all it would do, even if it were jank free, is make your pet's kills take 20 seconds longer 25% of the time. Honestly, this thing belongs in the Z tier, but I'll settle for putting it in the F tier. So there you have it, the ultimate class mod tier list for Borderlands 3. Thank you all so much for watching, have a fantastic day.